Excellent. Oh, I'm so happy. I'm so excited you're all here. Thank you so much for attending this March conference at Life Coach University. This subject is so near and dear to my heart on awareness and reflection. It has helped me, my clients, and so many others in so many ways to be a compass in their lives, to give them direction, to help them to know which way to go in life. So I'm going to start off just by asking a couple of questions, or one question actually. You'll see me look at a piece of paper here because there's a lot of information to cover. So we all make to-do lists, right? We're all familiar with to-do lists. But have you ever made a to-be list? I know our to-do lists are very long, but what would you put on a to-be list? Who you want to be, where you want to be. I know for me, that would be a much shorter list. It would be a much more pleasant list. And the reason I'm bringing up a to-be list is because that's where awareness and reflection help us. They help us learn who we want to be, where we want to be, how we want to be, everything we really want in life can be gotten through awareness and reflection. And usually that's not how we're taught to be growing up. Usually we're taught in a very different way, especially here in the West where I am. And it's they're such underused tools to get what we want, to know what we want, and to know what doesn't serve us anymore, and get rid of it if we want to. So I'm just going to give a couple of quick definitions, and then I want to get right to our amazing coaches, our keynote speakers we have here today. We have 5 of them. They come from very different backgrounds, but what brings us all together is this amazing subject of awareness and reflections. We all have a passion for it. We all find it very important, and you're going to hear some amazing stories from some of these keynote speakers, and hopefully you will leave with some amazing golden nuggets to take with you. So, a quick definition of awareness is the knowledge and understanding that something is happening or it exists. So it's an awareness, right? It's a knowledge that something is happening or exists. So here's the thing. One of 2 things we do with awareness. One, we have an awareness and maybe we love it, or it's not a big deal. It's just something to be aware of. We take it and we go on our way, right? We might not remember it anymore. We might remember it. But when we have an awareness of something we don't like, and I include myself in this, I feel like this is just a human condition. When we have the awareness that we don't like, we don't want to feel those emotions. We don't want to feel that negativity. So we store that awareness away in the back of our minds where we don't need to pay attention to it anymore. And hopefully we don't feel it anymore. But what do you think that does to store it there and not do anything about it? Now let's go on to a quick reflection definition, which is a thought, an idea, or an opinion. It's the examination of one's own conscious thoughts and feelings. Those conscious thoughts and feelings are these newfound awarenesses. And we're looking at it and we're feeling it and we're thinking about it. Now, when we put that awareness in the back of our mind, we're not having any reflections. We're just getting rid of it. But what happens when we reflect on that awareness? When we reflect on that awareness, it gives us that compass. It helps us with where we want to be in life, what we want to keep, and what we want to get rid of that no longer serves us. So as I said before, these are two very, very underused, amazing, massive tools for us to use in our lives. But we just didn't grow up knowing about this. So I'm bringing the awareness to you today that you can reflect on. So without further ado, I want to ask our first keynote speaker, Tiegs. Jay, if you could raise your hand and I will bring you up on stage. I am just going to say Jay is a high performance coach and leadership speaker. This is an amazing man we have with us. Jay believes in taking on difficult challenges in life with persistence and commitment. Serious. You can achieve personal transformation by doing hard things. Can you imagine that? Not putting them away, but doing these hard things. I love it. He's passionate about helping those that are looking for their next mission in life. I cannot wait to hear what you have to say. Let's hear what you have to say in your heart, Jay. Take it away, please.
First and foremost, it's an honor to be here. Thank you so much for having me here. And yeah, I'm just really excited. This topic is really important. As I look at my life, I've served the last 25 years in the military. I'm still currently serving, and I've had to deal with some traumas, like in my upbringing. I've had to deal with some trauma, from Army situation that I'm living in. And I know the question was like, I think one of my questions for this presentation is, describe a time where awareness has helped me navigate through a problem. And if I can be abundantly honest, I'm dealing with a very difficult time in my life at this very, very moment. And I recorded a podcast that's going to broadcast tomorrow. And I even said on the I don't even feel like recording the podcast. And if I can be honest, I don't even want to be here. That's where I'm at. I'm in a difficult time. But I've got to honor my commitment. I got to do the hard thing and show up anyway. But my instinct is to just go up and just sit on my couch and watch some Netflix, because I'm in a period in my life, and I'm sure people can relate, where have you ever been in a period of time where you just had one thing happen to you and then another and another and another? I'm in that current moment right now. Just to share with everyone, some of the things that I'm dealing with is I'm transitioning from the military. So there's a lot of anxiety about departing the service and being an entrepreneur as a mindset coach. There's a lot of learning. There's a lot of putting yourself out there. I had a series of just financial expenses. You ever have that financial thing that happens to you and you're like, man, that really stung. Well, I had 4 of those in a row. In fact, I was just on spring break last week and we went cross country with my kiddos, and we got stranded on the side of the road. The clutch went out, turned out to be a $3,000 repair. Completely, it was supposed to be a relaxing week, and it turned in, there's a lot of unknowns, and the bill was it was $2,900. And that was after the week before I spent $1,000 repairing the car, in which the mechanic repaired the wrong part, which is why we got stranded. And I didn't even know if I was going to get my car back in time or make other arrangements. So we had to make completely different arrangements as far as where we're going. And then I come back and I find out that my mother, I'm adopted, but my adopted mother is in hospice care, and I had to go pay my last respects over the weekend. So I'm just dealing with a lot in my personal life. Now I can your natural instinct when you're dealing with a bunch of hardship is to just, cope in a variety of unhealthy ways is usually what happens, right? Go grab that bottle of wine and go sit on the couch and watch Netflix. And that might feel good in the moment, but you can't do that. And I always tell people, you're allowed to do that maybe for a day, but you can't do that over a period of days. And I got to a point last week where it's okay, I've started feeling like an imposter because all of these things were just weighing on me. They're just weighing on me. And how can I show up for my clients and the people that rely on me? I almost feeling like an imposter. Like, how can I do that? Like, right. I got all this stuff going on. It's weighing me down. I'm a mindset coach and I'm getting weighed down. And so I'm like, you know what? The argument for personal growth and development is so that you have the tools to navigate through life, because life for everyone faces hardships. Everyone faces uncertainty. But when you have tools in your back pocket, you can pivot faster. And that's what awareness tools are. So the same tools that I use with my clients, I dug them out and I doubled down on them. And so, as you mentioned, your awareness is like your compass, right? We're all on a journey. Every one of us is on a journey, and clarity is your north-seeking arrow. It's hard to get from point A to point B on your journey if you don't know where you're currently at. In the military, we have a map and a compass, and we're doing this type of work a lot, right? That's what I always tell people is like, we're all on a journey to try to get to that mountaintop. But sometimes to get in that journey, you're in the forest, you're navigating around, in the swamp, you got to go around lakes, and you got to have that map and compass. And sometimes you're in the forest, you can't even see the mountain because you're deep in the forest, right? So having that level of awareness is like stopping and taking a knee and looking at your north-seeking arrow and looking at your map and making sure everything lines up. But if you don't do that, if you don't have that awareness, you're just going to stumble through and just keep going. And you're going to end up, the mountain is this way, but you're like this way, walking continuously that way. And the further you are away from your purpose and your final destination, the more misery you have in your life. And so awareness is incredibly important. And for my, what I teach personally, you need to have awareness in 6 different areas. Your health, like your energy level, right? Your body's a power plant. So do you have awareness for your health? Do you have awareness in your relationship, your lover? How is that going for you? Because if things aren't going well there, obviously it's going to bleed over into every other aspect of your life. Your family and your friends. Are you deeply connected? Our greatest human desire is to feel loved and appreciated. Are we connected with our friends and our family? Our mission, are you in alignment with your mission? Are the things you're currently doing, are they in alignment with who you're becoming? Your finances. That was one of the things recently I dealt with, right? Writing that $2,900 check to get my car fixed so I could drive home. That was difficult. Are you clear about your financial well-being? Do you have awareness with where you're spending your money and all those things? Your hobby and your passions. Are you engaged in your hobby and passions? Oftentimes people are, I'm just giving. I gotta give to work. I gotta give this organization. I gotta give to everyone else, and you cut yourself short. And the further you are away from your hobbies and passions, it's hard for you to reset yourself. And we need to do that. That's part of our ability to create. And then our spirit, whether you believe in God or the universe, are you deeply connected? Do you have awareness of how you feel with your spirit? And then another area of awareness, and this is one that I recently learned, and maybe you guys have seen this before, but the Abraham Hicks emotional scale. And something that I've recently learned with is having awareness in my emotion. Oftentimes we just put our emotion in, I'm feeling bad, I'm feeling good, maybe I'm feeling in between. Well, those are like 3 buckets, right? Well, there are 22 emotions. And when you have awareness and you can pinpoint your emotions, you can actually climb that emotional scale, just like a ladder, a little bit easier. And so I found by awareness in my emotion, like what emotion am I currently feeling right now? I can identify that, and then I can figure out what that vibration is, and then have some affirmations to help me navigate that, and maybe some activities that I can do, things that will trigger, like, okay, instead of, if I grab that bottle of wine and I sit on the couch, I might feel content in the moment, but it's probably actually going to bring me down the ladder tomorrow. Whereas if I go and exercise, maybe meditate, to call someone and give some gratitude, I'll probably actually be able to climb that ladder a little bit more effectively. So having awareness in your emotion and having awareness in your surroundings and enables you to just take pause for a moment, to look at your map and your compass and realign yourself to make sure you're going in the right direction. We talk about doing hard things. This is a learned behavior because most people are just, they're not aware. They're just, their emotional brain is just taking over and they're doing things impulsively. But having awareness enables you to detach so you can stop for a moment and take the proper action that's going to enable you to get to your mountaintop where you're ultimately trying to get to. So that's what I think about awareness. And as I'm going through this difficult time, it's like, you got to suck it up and you got to do what you're committed to do, right? Like I said earlier, didn't necessarily want to be here. I don't want to record my podcast. I don't want to go to work later. I don't want to do these things, but it's making me feel good. And by having awareness, I can navigate through this. And, I'm doing other things like asking for help and leaning on people as I am going through tough times. And I don't care who you are. That's the human dynamic. I'm a mindset coach. I'm very good at what I do. I have tough times and I'm in one right now. And that's how awareness is the starting point.
Wow, Jay, oh my gosh. Is everybody else feeling like this, like I do? Oh my gosh, I'm getting emotional. Wow, you said some amazing things there. What I got from it was when you're being aware, you made it sound like you're being present. Right? When you're in your presence, then you can actually think about these things. You were talking about, like a whirlwind and emotions and all these things. And I realized hearing you say that we're not being present when we're like that. But then when we're in our awareness,
happiness can only be found in the present moment. And oftentimes we do things to escape the present moment, which it's very fickle happiness. It's not the enduring happiness. Mm-hmm. And having awareness enables you to be really present in the moment, where that's the only way that you can find happiness.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. Bring you back up later for the Q&A. Next, we have Nancy Sawyer. So Nancy, if you will please raise your hand for me, and I will promote you to panelist. Nancy is an intentional living coach. And believe it or not, she's got this amazing group called the Compass Club. She's the founder of the Compass Club. You could find them on Facebook. If there's a great group, I've been there. It's wonderful, such friendly people there. And she helps women thrive through life transitions. And she teaches them how to build their day-to-day life around their values and what they love. I can't think of anything that's more important than that, right? So they can wake up feeling energized and eager for each day. Gosh, those words just made me feel these wonderful, happy feelings. That's all we want to be, right? So I cannot wait to hear what you have to say. I will now ask Nancy the question of, what are some key points to think about to gain awareness? So Nancy, I would love to hear what's in your heart. Please take it away.
This is so great, talking about awareness. As an intentional living coach, it is all about knowing yourself and understanding who you are, how you're wired, so that you can make the choices and decisions in your life that are going to make you happy, leave you feeling fulfilled. So when you're thinking about awareness, it's important to step outside yourself and look in. You want to become an observer of your own behaviors, your own patterns. You want to think about your life experiences. Everyone brings different things to the table. So you want to kind of become a student of yourself, all the way from when you were a child up until now. Think about how your experiences have shaped you. And that way, once you can evaluate that, you can kind of connect the dots with things. I want to talk a little bit about triggers. And I'm going to share with you a very personal story for me that helped me identify something that was life-changing for me. Excuse me. So you want to think about your triggers when you're feeling angry, upset, scared, frustrated. When you can identify the source of those, it is very helpful. And it could be from a small incident. It could be from something that happened in childhood or high school or college. It may be years of being in an abusive relationship. It might be your first job, your first marriage, whatever it is. You want to reflect on your family relationships, your personal relationships, your career choices. And again, to gain awareness, consider whether you've made certain choices out of fear or out of expectations of others, perhaps. The next time you feel triggered, you can use it to become self-aware. You can take the time to sit with your emotions. You know, as Jay just said, when you're in it and you're feeling all the things, sometimes you really want to escape, and that's totally normal. And that's a choice a lot of people make. But when you finish doing that thing, nothing's changed. So by sitting with the feelings and the emotions and thinking and reflecting, it can get you the awareness you need so that going forward, you can bring your best self to going forward. So you want to pay attention to what's happening to you, what's happening inside of you, what's coming up for you. Where's this pain or this anger or this frustration coming from? So I'm going to share a story. This was a while back. I have 2 teenagers, and I had called a family meeting to talk about chores and picking up after yourself, you know, things that normal families do and things that we struggle with kids a lot. So I wanted to have a meeting. I'm sitting at the table with my son and my daughter. My son likes to be the center of attention, and he likes to kind of make little jokes. So he was making little jokes and little noises, trying to make my daughter laugh, making funny faces as I was talking. The first time I asked him nicely to please stop it. He kept going. I asked him again to please stop it, and he didn't. And then as he kept going, I lost it. I completely lost it. I stood up. I don't even remember what I said. I got up, I stormed away from the table, and I started stomping up the stairs. I wasn't even halfway up the stairs, and tears were streaming down my face. And I got into my bedroom. I slammed the door, of course, and I sat down on my bed. And I knew it was an important moment. And I sat and I thought about, why am I so upset? Like, I am bawling. I can't stop crying. It seems a little bit overreactive, right? So I went through all the reasons why I was upset. You know, he should be listening to me. He's completely disrespectful. You know, my son's a pain in the butt. You know, why doesn't he listen to me? This is ridiculous. Why don't they listen to me? And then it came out. I feel invisible. Ouch. And I stopped myself. I was like, what? I feel invisible. I feel like I'm not here, like I'm not being seen, like I'm not being heard, like I don't exist. And when that hit me and I acknowledged that, I connected the dots for me. You see, when I was a teenager, I experienced a trauma. A family secret came out, and I learned that my father was not the person who I was told it was. And as a result of that, when I was 14 years old, my grandparents, who I loved dearly and had a close relationship with, they disowned me. And they decided that I didn't exist anymore. Lots of deep breaths here, right? It's trauma I'm still processing through. And I've only recently in the past couple of years realized how this has affected so much of my life and how it has shown up in so many different spaces. That's why this realization was gold for me. It made me realize that I have a very strong need to be acknowledged, to be validated, so that other people let me know that I am seen, to be seen. This is the thing. Our triggers are needs that are not being met. They're needs that are not being filled. And we can go around life and blame everyone else for being disrespectful or not doing this or not doing that. But until we identify the need in us that is not being filled, only then can we figure out how to work with that awareness, right? Because this is part of how I'm wired. You know, I used to think I was broken. But I want to say, you're not broken. You don't need fixing. You just have to figure out how you're wired. And then you can figure out how to get those needs met in a healthy manner. So I used that information to go and talk to my kids, to apologize to them, to say, you know, number one, yes, it's important to respect your mother and respect adults and pay attention. But at the same time, I was triggered because this happened to me and this is what I'm dealing with. So the awareness is a tool that you can take into all your interactions, into any situation. Because I know for me, this could come up at any time. You know, it might show up if I go to a work meeting or if I'm in an interaction with my child's teacher. If I have to call the cable company to ask why the bill is so damn high this month, right? I might feel like I'm not being heard. And now that I have this awareness, I can tell myself, take a deep breath. This is your trauma talking. You're safe. It's okay. You don't need to get upset. So again, the awareness is a tool, just like Jay said earlier. It is a tool so that you can give yourself what you need and you can bring your best self to all the interactions in your life. So when we seek to understand and get to know yourself and accept yourself, the good, the bad, and the ugly, that's going to help you be a better person for the future. All right. Thank you so much. I'm going to hand it back to Jodi.
Oh, Nancy. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Such an amazing tool, right? It makes me feel like next time that trigger happens, you're not, you know, you don't have to wonder anymore, right? It's just going to connect immediately and you go, oh, okay, I know where this is coming from. This is what it is.
Yeah.
I can move on.
Yeah. You identify it and then you don't have to be reactive to it. Doesn't mean it's not still going to come up, but you have more control. You have more control and you can put yourself in situations that are beneficial to you rather than negative.
Right. What a learning experience. That was an amazing story too. Thank you so much for sharing that. Our next speaker is Crystal Agyei. Crystal is another coach here at Life Coach University. And she is a general life coach for BIPOC, B-I-P-O-C. For those of you that don't know what BIPOC is, it stands for Black, Indigenous, People of Color. She found life coaching to be her true purpose with BIPOC. What an amazing find for you, Crystal. With their mindset and unpacking social conditionings in order to live a more peaceful and fulfilling life with the BIPOC method. Oh, I'd love to hear more of that. What is the BIPOC method? So Crystal, if you will raise your hand and I will promote you to panelist. My question for you, Crystal, is what are questions that somebody can ask themselves to gain self-awareness, right? How can they do that? So I'd love to hear your brilliance. I'd love to hear, I can't wait to hear what's in your heart, Crystal. Take it away.
thank you everyone for taking the time to be here with us today. I'm very grateful to speak with you all. So like Jodi said, what are questions you can ask yourself to gain self-awareness? I really do appreciate this subject, and I'm actually going to offer a concept that I go over with my clients that's actually part of the Bipark Method. The I stands for identity, and it's called the identity tree, and it's right behind me. It's made up of 3 parts. Hopefully you can see it. But the breakdown is 3 main categories of questions to help you gain awareness of your present self and where you are in your life. Hopefully, like I said, you can see behind me, but I just drew out this picture to help depict the vision that I have of the identity trees. And I do want to point out that as you go through these questions, you might discover parts that you like, and you might discover parts of yourself that you don't like someone had mentioned already. But I want to offer to resist the urge of not answering certain questions or not accepting certain answers because you don't want to accept that they're there. That is the first part of self-awareness, is being able to be okay with being aware of both the good and the bad parts. And so we want to come from a place of self-compassion and genuine curiosity to really just see where we're at without judgment, without shame, without guilt. And so the tree trunk, it's the tree trunk, fruit or flowers, whatever floats your boat, and then the water. Those are the 3 components. The trunk, the tree trunk, is who you already are. The fruit is who you want to be, or the flowers, who do you want to be? And the water is how you're becoming that person today. And so the first of the 3 is who are you? How would you identify yourself right now? Outside of titles, outside of role assignments, outside of accomplishments. So the first part of the question to gain more self-awareness is who are you? It's the tree trunk, it's the base. It's how would you describe yourself? Outside of titles, outside of role assignments, like actual adjectives that you would use to describe yourself of how you've been on average for the past week, for the day, yesterday, really just getting in tune with how would you describe yourself adjective wise, and really looking at, do you feel in your body, do you feel maintained? Do you feel like you're thriving, or do you feel like you're just surviving? Because asking ourselves who we are and identifying ourselves outside of a commonality that we use is the roles and titles, that's the beginning of self-awareness. And then second would be, who do you want to become? It's your tree, you get to decide, but who do you want to become? What does that person represent to you? What are the adjectives you would use to describe that person? What kind of thoughts do they think when they wake up? What kind of thoughts do they think in the middle of the day? What does that person feel on a regular basis? Do they forget what day of the week it is because they just are that in love with their life that it doesn't matter that they have to wait till the weekend? How does that person respond to road rage? How does that person respond to disagreements? How does that person take care of themselves, or how does that person vacation? Is it an actual vacation, or is it relaxation? Is it stress laxing? Are you trying to do stress and relax at the same time? So who do you want to become? What do you envision for that person? That's the second piece. And the last main question is represented by the water. How can you be today? How can the answers number 2, who you want to show up, who you want to become to show up today, even right now, how are you listening to this pep talk? How you are going to pay it forward to someone else after this? How would that person you want to practice to show up today? How can you water your mind right now to intentionally grow into that person you want to be? How can you redirect your mind to what you have available to you instead of what you don't? Because it's nice to daydream, to think about who we want to be 1, 3, 5 years from now, because we're disconnected from that timeline, but it's really bringing it back to the present moment and being very intentional with our present, not by default. And that starts with self-awareness of how we're showing up today. Because I personally had to go through this process as I was transitioning from my identity as a physician to coach. I was giving up a lot of opportunities to introduce myself as a coach and talk about my business, because I wasn't aware that I was only identifying myself as a physician, and how that was holding me back to becoming the person that I wanted to be. So this came up for me when I was transitioning from physician to coach. And there's a lot of things that came up for me, like anger because I was in a career that I wasn't happy with, and also grief because I was grieving an identity and letting go of identity that I held on for so long. And it was through asking these questions of who I wanted to become, becoming more self-aware of who I was being now versus the person that I envisioned in my mind in the future. It's through these questions I was able to unpack the self-awareness that I needed in order to grow into becoming that person. And so I want to leave you with this. The life that we ultimately desire and cherish is through the intention and action of becoming self-aware of the life that we actually want to live and how we want to live it. So how do we gain self-awareness? As we start asking ourselves, who are we? Who do we want to become? And how can we be that person today? That's what I have for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Crystal. Wow. Those questions are really powerful, especially that, we've heard, who are you? Some of us might have heard, who do you want to become? But to hear something like that third question, who do we want to be today? It means that really hit me like, wow, who are we going to be right now? Let's start right now. We have this awareness, but let's not save it for later. Let's do it right now. So it looks like I lost you. Next, we have Norma. So Norma, if you will raise your hand, should be coming up. So Norma is a certified life and weight coach. I am just loving how there are so many different niches across the board today. Hi, Norma.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
I can. I'm just going to do a little intro for you.
Okay.
So Norma helps women who are done dieting. I love that because I think of dieting as something that's temporary, right? Dieting
Exactly.
is not really that way of living. So when you're done dieting, you can learn how to lose weight your way. And when I say your way, the client's way, not my way, or not Norma's way, but your way. What works for you? And that's pretty much the epitome of coaching, right? What works for you? So Norma helps with her clients work on mind, body, and spirit. So it goes so much further than just talking about what you're eating. And that's so they can experience a weight loss process that is calm, loving, and peacefully aligned to their life. Wow, that sounds so nice, Norma. I can't wait to hear what more you have to say about this. And your question, Norma, is once you have awareness, how does life change having that clarity once you realize that awareness and get that clarity? I can't wait to hear this. This one is so meaty. So let's hear what Norma has in her heart and take it away, Norma.
So thank you for that introduction. That was lovely. And I am so honored to be here as well. So Jodi mentioned my program, Weight Loss Your Way, which is exactly what I do. I teach women how to lose weight their way. And it's really a much more of a holistic approach. So it's way more than the food that's on your plate. It's about the process. And the better part of it, though, in fact, the start of the process is awareness. And that's exactly what I want to be able to speak to you about is when you have that awareness, how your life changes when you actually experience the clarity of awareness. And a couple of us have said it already, what a powerful tool awareness is. And I personally believe that change can only happen once you truly experience awareness. And you can't make meaningful change if you're not aware of what the real problem is. And that's where awareness comes in. In fact, I think I'd go so far as to say that awareness is actually the required first step to create any type of lasting change in your life. So the rest of what I'm going to share is going to be in the context of weight loss, but I think you can fit the content into any life compartment. So if weight loss isn't your thing, feel free to kind of just change the language in your mind as I'm talking, and I think you'll be able to see the connection there. So when I start working with a client, the very first question I usually get is, how do I get started? Everybody just wants to dive in and get started. And my first answer to that is always, we have to get some awareness. And immediately I see the face drop. They're so discouraged that, oh my gosh, this is going to take forever. But I explain to them that the time that we take to really become aware of where you are today and what your real obstacles are is actually going to get you to your goals so much quicker. So I'll try to explain a little bit what I'm talking about here. So I could certainly take my clients and dive right into changing the diet, but that's not helping solve the root cause of being overweight to begin with. And since we're not interested in doing these quick fix things like Jodi talked about in the beginning, we're interested in lasting change. We need to get to the root of the problem. And to do that, we need to find that deep awareness. So it's not just a surface level awareness, but something a little bit more deeper inside us. And I think one of the best ways I can explain this is when I was on my own weight loss journey, I knew, and my clients knew, that they have to stop overeating if they want to lose weight. So my surface level fix could be, let's just restrict your food, just like all the other conventional diets do. But that never works. And it always feels so stinking hard. And I'll never forget the day that awareness actually connected for me. So I was that person. I would start out on Monday morning, all in committed. By 3 p.m. Monday afternoon, I was eating out of control again. So I started to pay attention or become more aware of what was happening at the time that I wanted to eat. And I started to notice a few things. It was always late afternoon, and it was worse on really stressful work days. My eating felt like incredibly out of control, but yet strangely self-soothing at the same time. It was a very weird thing to notice. So then I started to pay attention to what I was thinking. And I started to hear thoughts like, oh my gosh, this day can't get over any sooner. I can't take much more of this. All of that stuff was running through my mind as I was scavenging my way through the kitchen. And after several days of becoming like really acutely aware of how I was thinking and feeling in those overeating moments, it dawned on me, I needed a break. I was feeling stressed. I was mentally tired. And I was eating to give some relief to an incredibly rattled nervous system. So slowing down, taking the time to be aware and notice what was really happening below the surface showed me exactly the root cause and where I needed to focus my energy going forward. So it was kind of like pushing the pause button for just a few seconds to step back and kind of observe. And that was really what kind of broke the whole thing wide open for me when I started to become really aware and had some clarity around what the real problem was. I could get to work solving the real problem. So it's like being a bit of a watcher of your own thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. And when you're aware or watching, you can catch these things that you're thinking and doing that are not serving you. And like a couple of the other speakers have said, you can start to make some intentional, different decisions. You suddenly have options. And you can be the watcher of your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. And when you do that, you're taking so much of the emotion and the judgment out. And when that comes out, all of a sudden you're allowed to see things a little more objectively. And then you can dig a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper. And it always reveals the real problems when you can do that. I think one more quick example of in the context of weight loss, and this certainly shows up here, but it's not exclusive to weight loss by any means, is negative self-talk. I think we all do this throughout the day, and many of us don't even realize it. In fact, my clients have told me that until they started to listen for it and be the watcher, they never realized how much negative self-talk actually goes on for them. But when you do pay attention, just like the first example, you can catch it, decide if it's serving you, and then decide what you want to do about it. You have some options. So some of the things that I used to say to myself, and my clients have told me too, are like, oh my gosh, why bother? I'm never going to figure this out. This just is never going to work. I'm not good enough. That's a really popular one. But once they start becoming aware of not only what they're saying, but how frequently they're coming up, they have an opportunity to start redirecting those thoughts or deciding they're going to think something different, like changing it up a little bit. I will figure this out. I'm a smart woman. I don't quit. And it starts to give a little more momentum and a little more clarity to the things that are really sabotaging efforts like negative self-talk. So I hope this helped bring a little clarity around kind of the power of awareness and how you can use it in a real practical sense to get to that root of the problem. And it truly does give you the clarity and insight so that you can actually make those deep, meaningful changes. So I really hope this helps. And I look forward to any questions that we might have at the end.
Thank you, Norma.
You're
Wow.
welcome.
There were some, I hope there were great nuggets for you guys. There were definitely some for me. One of the things you talked about was going to the root. And
Yes.
I thought, yes, of course, that's so, so important, right? Unless you're at the root, you're just going to keep doing the over, which is the definition of insanity, right?
Exactly.
Do
Yeah.
the same thing over and over again until you get to that root. And I loved how you even started it saying, okay, we need to talk about awareness. And I smiled. I started laughing. I'm like, oh, who wants to deal with awareness?
Uh-huh.
It's like anything else, right? Once you practice it, once you realize what it's there for and you practice it, you realize it's not that bad and you just keep doing it
So
more and
true.
more. It's taking that first step, right?
Exactly.
So,
You can actually make it a little game too. It becomes fun trying to figure out what's really
yeah.
going on.
So, okay, well, I will talk to you in a little bit for the Q&A. We have one more speaker. Okay, so we have one last speaker. His name is Chris Weals, another amazing coach. All of these are amazing coaches that you could find at Life Coach University. So if you want to hear from them more, feel free to go to the site. We're all here for you. So Chris, let's go ahead and bring you up. You want to raise your hands for me? And we will bring you up here. And Chris is the most amazing. He's one of the most amazing people I've met. Chris is an adventurer. Hi, Chris, and a lover of life. And it really shows. And he loves playing outside, pushing himself to grow and help people live fulfilling, joyful lives themselves. So spreading the wealth. He knows how debilitating mental health issues can be since he's been dealing with depression and anxiety since his early teens. He's done and continues to do a lot of work to rise above these issues. Kudos to you, Chris. Really kudos. Depression and anxiety do not have to be the end of the story. And Chris feels awareness is an important first step in creating a happy ending to your story. So thank you so much for bringing forth your authenticity, letting us know there's others out there. We're not alone. Everybody's dealing with their own kind of monsters, right? So my question for you, Chris, is how do you reflect on a new awareness? Let's start getting into reflection, right? So I can't wait to hear what's in your heart, Chris. Take it away.
So good to see you again. Thank you for those kind words. And yeah, what an amazing topic. Awareness is the starting point of creating the new you, the new life that you desire. And to answer that question, how do I reflect on a new awareness? What a great question. Well, first I kick and I scream and I deny and I curse the person who brought it to my attention, right? Maybe that was the old me a little bit. Fortunately, I've grown a little bit since there. And I was actually recently blessed with an experience where somebody brought something to my attention that I had to reflect on. So this just happened recently, a few weeks ago. So perfect timing. I was out to dinner with my girlfriend and a very close friend of mine. We were out celebrating, and the three of us always have incredible conversations about spirituality, philosophy, life. We were talking about different business ideas for her, and it was a great exchange and all that. But the next day, my friend called me up and he's like, "Hey, I want to talk to you about something I noticed last night while we were all talking. In particular, when we were talking about your girlfriend and to her, I noticed that you kept telling her she should do this and she should do that, and I know you're trying to be helpful, but I don't think she cared for that too much. I don't think she wanted to hear you tell her she should do this and should do that." And so, of course, I kicked and screamed and denied it and resisted and cursed him. Now, I know I've been growing, because my response was one of gratitude. I was very grateful that he brought that to my attention. And so to reflect on that, first, I want to make sure that I'm in a really good space, a good state of mind. I want to be calm. I want to be present. And so after getting off the phone with them, I went into a quick meditation. So I meditated for a few minutes just to make sure that I was at peace and feeling okay, and coming from a place of love. And so and then like once I am able to do that, and I know that I'm in a good headspace, then I want to get really curious and I reflect on that. So I started asking myself questions. Okay, what is what he said true? Did that happen? And I thought back, yeah, when we were talking about different ideas for what she might be able to do next, I did say, oh, well, you should try this or you should do that. So I absolutely did that. Right. So yes, what he said is true. There was some truth to that. So that's a good question to start with. Where's the truth in it? How much of that is true? Even if it's a small percentage, where's the truth? And then, all right, now what's the impact on her? How would I feel? And like start to become empathetic and say, how would I feel if somebody was telling me I should do this and I should do that, or I shouldn't do this? I don't think I would feel very good about that. Even if I knew their intention was to try to be helpful, I don't think I would like somebody telling me I should or shouldn't do anything. And I know that I don't. And so I know the impact is a negative one, because I know that it would impact me negatively to be on the receiving end of that. And so the main thing for me is to go below the surface of the behavior itself. Because if I just reflected on the awareness of the behavior and said, okay, well, all right, I'm not going to tell her she should do this or should do that anymore. But if I don't go below that and get to the underlying root of the behavior, the intention that's driving the behavior, then I might just change the behavior, but still do something very similar because I'm not getting to the root. So I might, instead of saying you should do something, I might say, hey, you can try this, or what about doing this? And I'm still going to give her advice, just in a different form. And that's not what I want to do. So I'm reflecting now on my intentions, because behavior is a reflection of our true intentions, whether it's conscious or not. That's what's going on. Our behavior reflects our intention, and our behavior is driven by our intention. So I want to know what my beliefs are, what my intentions are driving that particular behavior. And so this is where it can get kind of hard, because you have to really take a look at yourself and ask some tough questions. Why would I tell her she should do something? I like to think of myself as helpful, and I want to be supportive and all of these things, but telling someone they should do something, that's a controlling behavior. That's me thinking I'm right. I have all the answers. If you would just listen to me, you can have a wonderful life. That's not who I want to be at all. That's not the type of belief I want to have about myself and other people. So I was able to go below the surface level and get to the driving belief or intention and make a shift there. So reflect on that. Okay, well, how can I be more aware of that intention, and how can I not just change that surface level behavior, but then have the same intention or belief, but how can I actually make a shift there? And then that's going to really make an impact on my behavior moving forward. I'm not going to just cover it up with a similar but slightly different behavior. And so I had to ask those questions and have that awareness that, oh, wow, okay, that like the true intention there is actually that like she should listen to me because I have all the answers for her, and that's not what I want. So I need to shift back into, okay, well, I want to be supportive. I want to be curious. I want to be present with her. I want to help her find her own way, not tell her the way. And so that really is how you make major changes and grow, is to get to that root level. And so in the past, I never would have been able to do that. I would have just been offended by what my friend told me. It would have hurt so bad. I wouldn't have wanted to reflect at all. I wouldn't have wanted to dive in. It may have even damaged the relationship I had with this person. But now, again, like I said, I'm so grateful that he brought that to my attention, because that is a gift. That is a true gift to me. And he is a dear friend for doing that. And I thank him for his bravery as well. But then also, again, it's going deeper than just the behavior, thinking about the impact, thinking about the belief behind it, the intention behind it, and then how can we shift our intention so that we're not doing anything like that moving forward, that we are coming from a place of love and support, and the intention that we want to have versus the intention that's there unintentionally. All right.
Wow. That was pretty incredible. You know, because you're saying you have this friend that said this to you, and who knows what his intentions are, but you were in control of yourself to take it the way you wanted to take it. Wow. I mean, I don't know a lot of people that, I've not heard that story before. That's pretty amazing. It just goes to show your strength. That's yeah. So thank you so much. And
It's definitely not easy, but just I've been practicing awareness and presence and reflection now for a while, and so it gets easier. It gets possible. A few years ago, I wouldn't have been able to have that type of awareness and reflection and make an internal shift. And so do the work, because it helps.
Yes. I'm seeing from like the common theme here is like practice, 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 right? So thank you so much for all of that wisdom. It was like we were going through your brain with you. It was great.
Thank you, Jodi. Thanks for having me on.
Sure. Thank you. Let's start kicking it off with the Q&A. All right. So let's see what we got. Someone asks, Jay speaks from the heart. I love his honesty and transparency. I could seriously listen to Jay speak for hours. His story and presence is so captivating. Thank you, Jay. Wow, that's really nice. Okay, so let's see.
Very nice comment. Thank you.
Yeah, that was beautiful. Let's see. Someone else asks, just see what are questions and what are comments. I want to get to everybody. Growing up, I was told what to do, how to do it, and what to think to. Sometimes I think I just live my life according to what others want me to do. How do I know my awareness is really mine? That's a great question. Who would like to answer that question? Anyone? Okay, Chris, take it away.
All right, thanks, Jodi. Great question, right? Because a lot of times we don't know, because we pick up ideas about ourselves and about life from our parents, from our siblings, from our teachers and friends, and that becomes adopted into our own way of thinking. So sometimes it's hard to discern between, hey, what are my true thoughts versus what somebody just planted inside of me. So I think one amazing exercise is to get in touch with how it feels. I think in our society and in Western society, we don't value feelings very highly, compared to our rational mind and logic and thinking. But feeling is our way to know the truth about something. So one exercise you could do is to learn the difference between how a truth feels versus how an untruth feels, or something that's true for you anyway, is to think back to an experience that you've had in the past, and sit with it for a while and actually like let yourself revisit the experience, and do this with both a negative and a positive experience from your past, and let yourself feel what it felt like to experience the negative experience, and feel that in your body now. So you get to know what that feels like, and then do it with a positive experience. So you know that feeling within your body. And then you can ask yourself questions now. Is this true? Is this my truth? Or is it not? Is this something that I should be doing? Or is it not? And then check in with how you feel when thinking about that question and when coming up with answers for that question. If it feels good, or if it feels like that positive experience, or if it feels like that negative experience, that can just serve as a guide to help you understand, help you to know if that's true for you or not.
Wow, that was spot on. I love that, Chris. Thank you for that. Okay, our next question is, what do you do when the person you live with continues to ignore you? She talks to me, but I know that she doesn't think what I think or understand me. I feel ignored. I'm aware of this feeling, but I feel very trapped in the relationship. That's a great question. Who would like to answer that question? Anybody can relate to that? Nancy, I see you nodding your head. Would you like to answer?
Yeah, I mean, these things are tough. If it's a relationship you're in, a lot of times there are realities there that we don't want to face. And if you're in a relationship that you're feeling ignored, or you don't appreciate the same things, then it might be time to evaluate that relationship. Is it truly a relationship that is healthy for you, that lifts you up and is going to help you show up as your best self? It's important to know that, and important to think about that. These are tough questions. So you have to just remain true to what you are, because as we all know, you can't change anyone else. You can't make anyone else act a certain way or do a certain thing. You can only change how you react and what you bring to the table. You can bring good energy, but if people aren't there to receive the energy, you can't really change that. So they're tough questions. Thank you.
Yeah, I've been there before, and I'll just say this is something that I've learned. I used to suppress a lot of my feelings in an effort to, I don't know, maybe people please, or maybe if I shared my true feelings, I might hurt their feelings or come off weird. This is your partner. Like, you should be able to talk about anything. And I don't know, I think that we get into this, it's become a habit in our society to, like, you get to a point where you're walking on eggshells around your partner, you're feeling ignored. Like, that stuff needs to be unpacked, because there is, like, it's just that it's scar tissue that's continuing to build up and build up. If you don't handle that communication aspect, it's going to come to a head, and it's probably not going to end well. So sometimes you may need to go unpack this with a therapist or a counselor to help you navigate some of this. But you got to create that ability to be able to have open communication between the two. That's your partner. If you can't communicate effectively with your partner, then what are we doing here? So that's something I've learned the hard way. I'm divorced. I'm not going to go back to that again, because like I said, I've learned it the hard way. And I'm in counseling with my partner now, and we unpack these things, and the communication is really, really good. It's better than I've ever had it, but even then, it's okay to seek help, because sometimes you need that the other perspective to help the both of you navigate through that. So that's just my 2 cents.
That's more like 25 cents, Jay, between you and Nancy. That's awesome. Love it. Yeah. If we're not going to be our true selves, then what's the point, right? Let's just be who we really want to be. It feels so good to live your truth. All right, next question. My awareness gets me not to like myself. Yes, I definitely know that feeling. That's me saying that, not them. I don't like who I am. Is there a way that I can do this awareness work and not feel so bad about myself? Ooh, great, great question. So many people feel this way. Anybody feeling this question? Yeah, Norma.
Yeah, so I think I touched on this a little bit. This is the hard work of awareness work, is trying to kind of be the watcher, but without emotion and judgment. And I know it's easier said than done, but it's when we can stop judging our emotions and then judging ourselves, it opens up so many different options for you. When you can just look at it and say, this is just a feeling that I'm having. It's not true. It's just something my brain is offering me. I can choose to think something different. Now, you may not believe that, and that's okay. It's like we've said a number of times, it's practice. And awareness is really the starting point. You know, this is fantastic that you're aware that you may not like yourself very much right now. So dig a little deeper, but do it with less emotion and less judgment. And just ask yourself, is it really true? What else could I be thinking? Even if I don't believe it yet, I could be thinking something else. Does that make sense?
Yeah, they make so much sense. And just your tone and how you're bringing it all up, it just makes it sound like be gentle with yourself, right? You know, we're already so hard on ourselves. One thing I like to say is we live with ourselves more than anyone else, right? We're with ourselves 24/7. So I love that, to be gentle with yourself. Okay, next question. I'm always worried about other people not liking me or worry that I did something wrong, even when everyone tells me I didn't do anything wrong. I have a hard time to believe it. I'm aware that I'm on a loop, but I can't stop the worry. Boy, are you not alone on that one. That is the human condition. Who would like to answer this one?
I think this comes down to self-confidence, is creating the setting in yourself of what you feel self-confident about. And it's different from confidence, as we often think confidence when we think of something in the past that we are certain that we can accomplish, or that someone has given us feedback. But even when we hear feedback, sometimes we question it and be like, oh, they're just saying that, or maybe it's not true. And we start to poke holes in that. But really, self-confidence is really having the conversation with yourself of what's working for you. Because as you probably already noticed, you're in that loop. So it can be very uncomfortable distrusting others and distrusting yourself in situations, because you are just very wary of how you're showing up and worried about who you're being and how you're being presented. But really focusing on self-confidence and putting yourself first of what you're experiencing is really the value. Because like Jodi said, the person that we spend the most time with is ourselves. So we need to like the environment that we're living in, and trying to clear out the noise of what society, what social media, what the movies, what our friends or the neighbors are doing, what they think is cool or right. It's really being clear with what we think is okay, what we think is beautiful, what we think is strong, what we think is powerful. And that's all part of growing our own self-confidence. And it takes time and a process to actually do that in action, to build it, to make it stronger. Self-confidence is like this brain thought muscle that we need to repeat over and over again, just like working out a bicep. We need to do repeated repeated thoughts and repeated actions and feelings work to build that self-confidence to be okay in our body when we're presented with situations that we normally would question the opposite experience.
Love, 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 Crystal. Yes, please, Nancy, you want to say something?
Yeah, thank you. That was a great answer, Crystal. I just wanted to piggyback on that a little bit. You know, if we're concerned with people pleasing or what other people think of us, what you need to know is that no matter how amazing you are, perfect you are, no matter how many things you do right, there's always going to be someone who doesn't like that. So when we are seeking external validation, it's very easy to get disappointed and to not get that, no matter how amazing you are. So that's why it's important, like as Crystal said, to build the confidence, to gain our own approval from ourselves, from within, right? To make sure we're acting in ways that we find valuable, that align with who we are and who we want to be. And once we're in alignment with that, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. It only matters what you think. Do I love myself? Do I trust myself? Am I stepping up and showing up to life as the person I want to be? Once you're doing that on a consistent basis, no one can take that away from you. So that's just something to think about. I don't know if that's helpful.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Nancy. Really great. So we have time for a couple of more questions. We have 5 minutes left. So the next is, let's see. Oftentimes awareness is associated with knowing something intellectual or cognitively. What are your thoughts on being aware from the perspective of our physical body? Oh boy, do I love this question. I'm really curious of any insights you may have. Does anyone want to answer this question? No, I'd be happy to answer this question. I am all about embodiment, and I really feel that most of the time we are in our heads rather than our bodies. We can actually come from our bodies to do what we want to do. And when we're in our bodies, we are actually coming from our authentic self. We can only be our authentic self when we come from our bodies. When we're in our minds can play games with us and not necessarily have our best interests in mind. And that's why we can be kind of wishy-washy. You know, sometimes I can be, you know, am I going to do this? Am I going to do that? And then I realize, wait a minute, I'm in my head right now. I'm not in my body. And I go to my body, and that means I'm listening to what my gut says. I'm listening to what my heart says. You know, I'm not in my mind. You can't be both places at once. So I would say, do the embodiment, but first you have to realize you're in your head, and then get out of your head. Go to your body and ask your heart, your gut, and your intention what you feel. And you will not be lying to yourself. It will only be authenticity. So I hope that helps you. The next question was, I was okay living my life, content. Then my partner decided to join a men's group. He brings all of his stuff home now, and we argue so much. When is his awareness? This is his awareness. What do I do when he is processing this stuff? I don't want to argue with him, but I don't want to be in his awareness process. Wow, that's a great question. That's so much awareness right there, even thinking to ask that question. Who would like to answer this one?
I can go.
Great, Crystal.
I think the first two things that come up is one, boundary, and then the second is consent. It's creating the boundary around what, and creating a boundary in terms of being clear of what you're willing to partake in, and actually acknowledging what you're thinking. Like, I don't want to be part of this awareness process, but at the same time, you are in a partnership. So creating this boundary with him that, hey, listen, I understand this is something that you're processing, but at the same time creating consent. That's why I said boundary and consent is you want to create this space that allowing him to unpack with you, because he probably wants to create some sort of connection. So creating consent for this space to talk about that, but and creating that boundary at the same time that when we're in this space, we can unpack, but outside of that, you want to protect your own mental well-being, if that makes sense. So creating the boundary around the space that you want to be with him, with his processing, and at the same time holding consent because you're actively participating it. And when you're outside of that space, you can protect your mental space as well.
Amazing, Crystal. I hope that helps you. I hope that answers your question. Let's see, it is 3:30. So we are out of time. I apologize if I didn't get to your question, but if you want it answered, especially if you want it answered from a specific person here, we as the coaches at Life Coach University speak once a month. And so you can look up whoever you want to listen to. You could listen to all of us, and you can ask your question on any specific coach's 1 hour PIF talk, which is the Pay It Forward talks that we normally do. So I want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. We all do, for being here, taking and having acknowledgement of awareness and reflections. We hope that you were able to take something away that you can use in your life. And if you have any more questions, you can find out where to get in touch with us through Life Coach University. And we would love to hear from you.